Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Matching Miriam by Maya O'Malley, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Miriam. Miriam stood downstairs in her kitchen, staring at her mug of coffee. She simmered over her piss-poor mood. She had always thought the worst thing that could happen was to get attached to someone and then have your heart broken when they left or otherwise betrayed you. She slowly began to wonder if there was something far worse than that. Was being afraid to take a risk, to take a chance at love and friendship, far worse? The old adage, "It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," rang through her head. Let's just see about that. Her mind was once again on the past, something she considered quite unusual for herself. She attempted to boost herself up, listing her own accolades to get her mind out of this stinking rut. Tough as nails badass cop, just plain badass in general. She'd heard the words people chose to describe her, and once she had even taken pride in hearing those spot-on phrases. Hell, she'd earned those titles through life's tough lessons, and nobody could break through her invisible, impenetrable walls until she met Naomi, that is. Naomi, sweet, eccentric, spirit-seeking Naomi. Miriam grinned upon thinking her best friend's name, and a warm feeling came over her. That's much better, she told herself and smiled. Naomi had single-handedly opened her eyes about what having and being a friend really meant. Not the textbook definition of a friend, but the true meaning of what it felt like to have one soul in this world to entrust your deepest, darkest secrets without judgment. She had spilled her feelings, moods, fears, and love to Naomi, handed them right to her. Perhaps not every fear, not every hang-up, but most, and that was pretty darn good from where Miriam sat. Before she got all sappy, Miriam interrupted the buzz of her thoughts. She took to the narrow stairs in her 1700s saltbox-style home up to her bedroom. With a huff, she threw off her nightshirt and grabbed a t-shirt and sweats from her dresser. She ought to have her head examined. She had taken up running, and sometimes it was damn tough to get out of bed so early in the morning. But she had to admit, she loved grabbing that addictive runner's high, the feel of which kept her focused and centered. But she knew the true appeal running offered. It served to hush away whispers of old ghosts. Miriam hustled back down the stairs. She reached for her jacket before stepping out of the house and lifted her head to breathe in the crisp air. She heard the unmistakable sounds of wheels hitting gravel on the dirt road and squinted to see Naomi's brand spanking new red SUV as it swerved down the small driveway that they shared. In Miriam's mind, their street was perfect. It consisted solely of her house and Naomi and Bryce's home just down the road. Naomi was pregnant with twins, hence the new wheels, Miriam thought with a smirk. "Hey!" Naomi's driver's side window rolled down as she slowed to a stop. "Hi there, where are you off to?" Miriam rubbed her hands together and blew into them. "Grabbing a cup of coffee with Amy. Want to join us?" Miriam spread her arms wide, showing off her running outfit. "I've got plans of my own, but thanks." She winked. She knew Naomi's old friend Amy had been sort of put on the sidelines lately, what with all of Naomi's ghost business. Naomi had the ability to sense, see, and often communicate with spirits, most of whom sought her out to obtain closure in their dark world. Naomi had sworn to her husband that she was finished helping any future ghosts and that she would concentrate on raising her family, complete with his 7-year-old daughter Holly and the twin girls. Miriam shook her head, recalling Naomi's news that she already knew the twins had the same gift of seeing spirits that she had. Oh, Naomi. Oh, Bryce. If the girls were anything like their mother, Bryce and Naomi, for that matter, would be in for countless years of mischief and trouble once they discovered their unique talents. She nearly laughed out loud. "Are you sure?" Naomi squinted, using her hand to block the sunlight from her eyes. "You and Amy could use some quality alone time." She hopped from one foot to the other, intent to get going, because hot coffee sounded like a dream right about now. Later, after the run, she told her burning craving. She knew Naomi felt a nagging guilt that she had inadvertently neglected her friend during all her all-consuming experiences with the spirits of Maggie, Ryan, Nick, and lastly, the spirit of a little girl named Lily. Lily had proven to be the most challenging experience for Naomi out of all the others, and it made sense because Lily had been a distant relative of Naomi's from over a century ago, and she had also shared the same gift as Naomi. "Okay, enjoy your run. We're supposed to get some snow later." The puffs from Naomi's breath in the air ensured that it was, indeed, cold enough to snow. "Yeah, I heard. First snowfall of the season. Okay, have fun. Bye." Although she loved the beauty of the first flakes touching the ground, she frowned at the memories that always anchored themselves to the falling snow. Miriam waved goodbye as she bounced in place, eyes on Naomi's vehicle as it grew smaller, her mind now fixed on the past. Snowflakes fell, their cold mixed with the warmth of her tears. She swiped a hand across her face, then wept loudly, giving in to her sorrow. Just yesterday, her father had told her that a freak accident had taken her mother from her. Taken from her? What did that even mean? She couldn't wrap her brain around how crazy that statement was, how foreign the words sounded as they left footprints echoing in her mind. If only her mom had left the house mere seconds before or after she had, none of it would have happened. Miriam had become downright obsessed with the thought. The tree had been weakened from within, the police officer had told them, and then the swift gust of wind had come at precisely the moment when her mother had stepped outside to take the garbage out. Seconds before, seconds after, that's all it would have taken for her mother to have survived. What if Miriam had simply called for her mom, asked her a question, grabbed her attention for one damn second? But she knew the blame game wouldn't bring her mother back. Nothing would, or could, perform that miracle. God knows she had tried. Her mother had just spoken days earlier of the impending snowstorm and how she always loved the first snowfall of the year. That next day, all Miriam could think of was that it all meant nothing. Nothing without her mother. The snow had arrived, and with it, it had brought the fall of emotions that would inevitably start to build up the impenetrable wall that nobody could tackle. Not her father, not her friends, and not her first love, Jessie. Miriam started off in a trot, but then picked up her pace as she realized she'd opened another of her most distant doors, one she hadn't allowed herself to walk through in ages, that is, until recently. Well, here it was again. So much for quieting the taunting clutches of her past. She hadn't thought of Jessie in such a long, long time. Actually, that wasn't entirely true. She had thought of him, but whenever he crossed her mind, she banished him, almost as if a windshield wiper simply swept him away with the rain, or a puff of a cloud had vanished, riding off to sights unseen. Now she let herself have a rare moment, one she had come to think of as nothing other than pure regret. God, how she hated the word. It was the worst. Regret. It encompassed everything she feared, everything she despised, because at the root of regret was one individual, the person standing before you in the mirror. The only one responsible for it, the only one who had made choices that could never be repaired, for it was impossible to walk down the murky road of the past and make those amends. Jesse had been her first serious boyfriend, and with him, at the age of 17, she had experienced a world of firsts. Her first real kiss, the first time she had ever slept with a man, and the first and only time she had secured a best friend within her lover. Miriam held tight and breathed as she swallowed up memories of the math class in which they had met that had sealed their fate, visions of Jesse's sparkling green eyes, his crooked, boyish grin. She had screwed that relationship up royally because once she had lost her mother, she had also lost her taste for anything else, including the boy whom had stolen her heart so completely. But that was once upon a time, and she hadn't secured her happily ever after with him or anyone else since. Hardly, she scoffed, not wanting to go any further with that disturbing line of thought. The fact that her mind had even dared to peek behind the door of a past recent relationship, although it had been short-lived, made her cringe. Miriam raced forward, keeping her eyes steady on the road beyond, and then did what she did best. Stiffened, toughened up, and closed down her mind. Slam, 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 with Jessie once again locked behind one of her most tightly secured doors. Cole stood in the corner of Miriam's kitchen, his eyes glued on her. She shuffled some of the paperwork around the table, attempting to avoid eye contact the best she could. Miriam had first developed a friendship with Cole while working on solving his sister Sharon's murder a few months ago. It had been quite a ride, with Naomi and her visions shedding light and bringing Sharon's ex-husband to justice. Miriam and Cole had started dating, and while she wasn't sure exactly where their relationship was headed, she was trying to give it a chance while attempting to silence her past relationship demons. Bringing work home now? He frowned slightly. Sometimes. She knew she was being short with him, but since her recent stroll down memory lane, her mood had taken a nosedive. She bit down on her lip and steered her mind back to her work. Miriam wasn't in the habit of taking her paperwork home, but lately Cole had been consuming so much of her free time that she found herself catching up on last-minute responsibilities she hadn't been able to finish at the station. Not that she was complaining or anything. Cole had recently stirred something within her that had lain dormant. Sure, she had dated Phil the psychopath, as she referred to him, but after Phil, she had shut herself off from men, for he had swallowed the minuscule amount of trust she had left. Phil had been the brother of one of Naomi's closest friends, so when he had come to mourn the loss of his brother Ryan, Miriam felt she could trust him, since Naomi spoke so highly of Ryan. Unfortunately, she soon came to realize the brothers were nothing alike. In fact, they were direct opposites. Phil had schemed, used her to get within the reaches of the county jail to commit murder. To commit freaking murder. Damn, she could really pick them. She stretched her neck from side to side. "What's the matter?" Cole asked. Phil could be pushed out of her head easily enough, but Jessie? His vivid green eyes popped to life before her. She slapped her knee under the table. What the hell was going on? Where was the control that had always been so easy to maintain? Nothing. It's nothing, Cole. She tried to bury her mind in the pile of papers before her and sighed at Cole's looming presence. She could hear him shifting his feet. She lost track of her thoughts and glanced up at him. "Just waiting on you." He stuck his hands in the pockets of his jacket. "Ah, right." She bit down on her lip. She had nearly forgotten their plans. Work would be here when she got back. "Give me a minute to freshen up." She stood, preparing to head up to her bedroom, and then she felt him grab her wrist. "Hey." His intense gaze stopped her, and she swallowed. "Miriam?" "What?" "Come here." His voice dropped to a soft whisper at the last syllable. Lifting his hands, he gently took hold of her chin and moved closer, invading her space. She hadn't yet truly kissed him, really kissed him, like with all the passion she could muster type of a kiss, and she knew he wanted that badly. But now that his mouth was inches from hers, she froze. His timing sucked. "Cole, don't, Miriam. I've been wanting to do this from practically the first moment I saw you." "Cole," she considered arguing that this would best be done at another time, perhaps when her thoughts weren't so scrambled, but then Cole did the most amazing thing. He silenced her with his soft lips, and all thoughts of Phil and Jessie floated blissfully away. His mouth melted upon hers, and she gave in to the sensation, searching out his lips with her own. He nibbled, exploring her mouth, nipping at her with playful passion, then with an urgency she couldn't quite meet. Not yet. Damn her busy, all-consuming mind. She placed her hands on his shoulders, wondering how it would feel to lose herself completely to him, before her strong inner voice spoke up. "Cole, wait, stop." His shoulders slumped as he released her. "I know you want this as much as I do." He was right, she did, but she also knew this wasn't the time. She couldn't even explain her rationale to herself, but it just felt off right now. "I do, it's just, well, the timing's not right." Miriam stepped away from Cole. "Timing?" He lifted his gaze to the ceiling and then turned to place his hands on the table before him. She came up from behind him and touched his shoulder. "I'm sorry. You know I do like you, and better still, I like us." "Huh." Cole seemed to consider her words as he spun to meet her eyes. He reached for her hands and squeezed them slightly. I know, Miriam, and I'm sorry for putting any pressure on you. I don't even care about getting you into my bed at this moment. What I want is the physical connection. I want to touch you, hold your hand, kiss you. She bit down on her lip, hearing him out. She thought she had wanted the same, but her body froze as his words filtered through her head. She couldn't deny that deep down she wished for it all, but he scared her. This scared her. I want that too, she blurted the words out before she could think it through. Grow up, her inner voice shouted. Grow the hell up and stop being afraid to live. This time she moved closer, giving all the effort she could muster. But as she let her mouth press against Cole's soft lips, her heart dipped back, spilled with a loss she had to finally admit to herself. She could no longer run away from her feelings. Now that she'd acknowledged to herself one of the reasons why she found it so hard to give her whole heart and being to a man, she felt herself prepare for the arduous task of releasing Jesse, felt herself silently saying goodbye to the boy who had once owned her heart. I'm sorry, Jesse, but I have to let you go. She heard the words bouncing around in her mind and steadied herself, determined to try to kiss Cole with renewed focus.